The person sitting next to you at your work, the one everyone calls reliable, she's actually in more danger than the person who just got fired. Can you imagine that? I know that sounds a bit backward, but stick with me because in the next 20 minutes, I am going to show you 4 things that were taught that you need to believe in your career that are quietly doing the opposite of what you think that they were supposed to be doing. One of them might be the exact reason why you feel stuck right now in your career. And here's the most uncomfortable part. Some of what I am about to tell you used to be true, and now it's not the truth anymore. The rules changed in the last 2 years and so, and most people never got the memo, including myself. So by the end of this particular video, you'll know exactly which myth is holding you hostage and precisely what to do instead.
Hi, is this Anne-Marie? I've been meaning to catch up with you.
I am Anne-Marie and I help experienced professionals, the one who put in ears but feel invisible, reposition themselves so they get taken seriously back again. And this channel will break down the real psychology of getting unstuck in your career. We say no hustle talk, no hype, just what actually moves the needle. Backed by what's happening currently in the hiring process, not what was true 5 years ago. If you have ever looked around, people less experienced than you moving faster, then you know what? This video is for you. The Stuck Career Code, the 4 myths that feels like safety but are actually cages. We'll go through all of them one at a time and I'll show you exactly what current research says about each one of the myths. Some of it's really gonna surprise you. So you know what? Stay with me because these myths, like myth number 2, is the one that almost nobody sees it coming. Our myth number 1, the productivity lie. Here is something nobody warns you about. Being really, really good at your job can actually stop you from ever getting the better one. I want you to think about it in this way, right? The better you get at clearing your task list, the more your manager needs you exactly where you are. You become what you call the reliable one, right? Which at this point, it sounds like a compliment, but it's actually a trap because reliable people don't get promoted. They get depended on by the company. Here's a deeper problem now on all these. Managers are humans, and humans avoid risk. Moving their best doers into new roles, or even worse, losing them to another team, feels risky to a manager. So, without even ever saying it loud, a lot of managers quietly keep their strongest performer exactly where they are. Not because they don't value you, not at all, they highly value you, but because they value you too much to let you move. I want you to picture this. Grace, 10 years at the same organization, every deadline hit, every fire put off. Her manager always tells her this every year. I don't know what we'll do without you. That sentence feels good in a moment, but I want you to say it loud and slowly. I don't know what we'll do without you. That is not a promise about your future. That's a description of your cage. Grace applies for a leadership open 2 levels up, right? She doesn't get it, and of course she can't get it. The reason when she finally hears it secondhand isn't that she lacked the skills, not at all. It's that her manager quietly pushed back on losing her from the current team. Nobody told her that conversation happened. Nobody was even going to tell her about that. This shows up in data too, right? A career development researcher at McKinsey found something, worth to sit with. And allow me to read for you this, right? This is what it says. A lack of visibility or visible career development is consistently the number 1 reason skilled employees say they eventually leave a company, and roughly 9 in 10 workers say they would have stayed if the employer had actively invested in their growth. This is a research. Read that again. This is what it says. Most people who eventually walk away don't want to leave. They want to be moved. And when nobody moves them, living becomes the only lever left. I want you to picture this. A hamster wheel spins faster and faster. From the inside, it looks like motion, right? But the hamster is in the exact same spots where it started. That's what over-delivering on the wrong task look like from the outside. Motion with no movement. There is another version of this trap that is a bit sneakier. It is not just about being kept in place. It is about what happens to your actual skills while you're still there. A recent workforce survey shows this, and allow me to read this again, right? A meaningful share of professionals privately worry their current skill set will be outdated within the less than a decade. And nearly half says they'll leave their job if they aren't given a real chance to upskill. So this week, I want you to write down every task that you did. I want you to circle only the ones that a decision maker actually saw, right? If most of your effort is invisible, that's not a work problem. You know what it is? That is a visibility problem. And you know what you need to do? You need to fix that first. Then ask yourself the second question after fixing that. Has anything about how I do my job actually changed in the last 12 months? If the honest answer is actually no, you are not standing still. Not at all. You are falling behind at the exact same speed the market is moving forward. Now, even if you fixed your visibility, there's a second trap waiting right behind it. One that feels like responsible, mature thing to do, right? And it's called loyalty. And what the data says about it might genuinely surprise you because it is not what you think. So our myth number 2, the loyalty trap. For years, the advice was very simple, and this was it. If you want more money, switch jobs because loyalty doesn't pay. And here's the twist. That's no longer reliably true. And the reason is not true is actually more worrying than if it is still were. Back in 2022, at the peak of what we call the hiring boom, people who switched jobs saw wages jump around 8 to 9% per year, which was good. While people who stayed only saw about 5 to 6%. So switching was genuinely the fastest path to move money, right? But over the last year or so, the gap has nearly disappeared. And in some months, it actually flipped, with people who stay now growing their pay slightly faster than people who actually leave. Here's the problem with celebrating that. Economists studying this aren't calling it good news. They're actually calling it a sign of a frozen, nervous job market. Fewer companies are hiring aggressively, and fewer people feel confident enough to jump. And when people are forced to leave, a job involuntarily in a market like this, they often land somewhere that pays less, not more, because they're taking what they can get instead of negotiating from strength. So the loyalty trap in 2026 isn't really about missing out on a bigger paycheck, not at all. It is about something quieter. And this is it. Staying so long, so comfortable that you lose the muscles of ever testing the market again. And if the day comes when you're forced out, maybe through a restructure, a donor funding cycle ending, or even a merger that happens, you walk into that moment with no reasoned practice of interviewing, no fresh sense of your own market value, and actually not updated proof of what you are actually worth. And that's the real cost, not a missed raise, a loss of readiness. I want you to think of 2 colleagues who started the same year, right? One stayed in place comfortable, well-liked, never really testing the market, right? The other colleague, on the other hand, every couple of years, at least went through a few interviews, right? Sometimes to move, or even just sometimes to know her worth in the market. 5 years later, when both of their roles were cut in the same restructuring, One of them had a warm network, an updated CV, and a recent interview practice, right? The three things. And the other one hadn't updated her CV in 6 years and hadn't actually spoken to a recruiter since university. Guess who found something next in 6 weeks? And guess who took 8 months before getting something? And that's exactly why staying loyal isn't the villain here. Staying passive is. You can absolutely stay in a job you love for a decade. There's no issue about that. The trap only closes if you also stop paying attention to your own market value worth while you are still there. Loyalty without ongoing awareness is like living in a house for 20 years without ever checking what it's worth. One day, you might need to sell it fast. And you'll have no idea if you're being, low-billed. Once every year, even if you have zero intention of leaving, do one or two things. Have a real conversation with a recruiter in your field, or even apply to one role that genuinely interests you, just to see what happens. Think of it like a fire drill for your career. Now, knowing your worth doesn't help you if you're still waiting for someone to hand you permission to act on it. And that's myth number 3, the quiet one. The one that started back in our childhood without us even noticing it. Our myth number 3, the permission wait. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that if we just work hard and stayed patient, someone in charge will eventually notice us and hand us what we deserve. That belief is quietly keeping good people invisible, and I want you to trust me with that. We learned early that good behavior gets rewarded by authority figures. And I want us to remember maybe being rewarded by our teachers or even our parents. So as adults, we bring the same waiting posture into work. We wait for the manager to notice. We wait for the right time to be asked. But companies don't run on gold star anymore. They run on who steps up first. And increasingly, who can prove it publicly? Here's what makes this worse today, right? It used to be enough to be quietly excellent and trust the system to notice. But the way people get evaluated has changed. A growing share of jobs, roughly 2 out of 3 professionals roles today, up from less than a quarter just a few years ago, now ask for, work samples, portfolio, or even a proof of results before someone even gets an interview. The shift, it changed how visibility works on the inside too. The employee getting noticed are the one with a track record that they can point to. Not the ones that quietly hope that someone remembers their, contribution from 18 months ago. Not at all. Think of 2 employees. Both spot the same gap. A process that was broken, a project nobody owned. One writes an email asking, should I look into this? And the other one just starts fixing it and reports back what she found with numbers attached on it. Only one of them gets remembered as a leader. It is not because she was smarter. It is because she stopped waiting to be asked and she made her work impossible to be missed. There is a second version into this particular story that matters just as much. A promotion opens up. One candidate has waited quietly for 3 years, assuming her manager has been keeping scores, right? The other candidate, on the other hand, with less tenure, has spent the last years documenting every project outcome and sharing the short update with the leadership along the way. When decision gets made, the second person isn't more qualified. She's just more visible. And in a system stretched thin and moving fast, visibility beats deserving almost every time. Waiting for permission is like standing in a green light, right? And waiting for someone to tell you it is okay to go. Nobody is coming to tell you that. The light is already changed. I want you to pick one thing this week that is inside your control that nobody has explicitly told you to fix, and fix it. Then tell the right person what you did with numbers. Now do this monthly, not once. Visibility compounds the same way interest does. Now, here's where most people get it twisted. They think, fine, I'll go get a certification and there's a proof that I am ready. That brings us to the last myth. And the research on this one might be the most surprising one amongst all the myths. Our myth number 4, the paper shield. A certificate feels like proof. Increasingly, it's treated by hiring managers as a starting point at the best. And sometimes it barely moves the needle. The certificate or the degree isn't the barrier people think it is. And it's also not the golden ticket that people hope. It is mostly just noise unless it comes with proof attached with it. What actually changed is what employers ask to see before they'll take you seriously. George, a researcher tracking a job posting, found out that requests from work samples like portfolios or even hands-on assessment jumped from under a quarter of posting in 2019 to roughly 2/3 of posting recently. And when employers were asked directly what they value, a large share said they really valued work experience. There is even a research suggesting that piling up certificates that aren't directly tied to the job you are aiming for can produce zero return or even some cases, even negative ones, right? Because it can read as scattered rather than strategic. 2 candidates apply for the same leadership role. One has 3 certificates listed at the top of the CV, right? And the other one has got 1 line on the top of the CV. This is it. Led a team through a 40% budget cut without losing a single client. Guess who gets the call back? It is not that the certificates were worthless, not at all. It is that they answered the wrong question. The hiring manager wasn't asking, what have you studied? She was asking, what can you actually do for me starting this Monday if I call you? This matters even more for people making a career pivot. Say, someone moving out of a donor-funded development work into a corporate strategic or even an advisory role, right? The instinct is often to collect a new certificate to prove they belong into that new space. But what actually gets them through the door is translating that they already did, managing multiple donor budgets, navigating compliance, leading team through funding cliffs, into a language corporate hiring manager directly recognized as leadership. A certificate on its own is like a shield made of paper. It looks protective, but the moment real pressure hits, like, tough interview questions, a case study, a portfolio review, it doesn't hold up. What holds up is a track record you can actually point it to. Action point on this. I want you to take whatever certificate or skill you're proudest of and write 1 sentence that proves that you used it to get real measurable results. The sentence or that sentence belongs at the top of your CV, not the certificate itself. So now that you have seen all the 4, let's bring them together. The first one, working harder without visibility keeps you invisible. The second one, staying loyal without staying market aware leaves you unprepared. The third one, waiting for permission keeps you unseen, especially now that proof matters more than patience, right? And of course, the last one, collecting certificates without proof keeps you unchosen. Notice the thread, right? None of these 4 myths reward standing still anymore. And all the 4 used to be safer bets than they are today. The world didn't get harder because you did something wrong. Not at all. It got harder because the rules quietly changed, while a lot of us were still plagued by the old ones. If you recognize yourself in even one of these 4 myths, there's good chance and the real issue isn't motivation. It is that nobody ever showed you how to translate your years of solid experience into language that today's market actually respects, right? And that's exactly what I break down in this video right here. If this hit home, tell me in the comment which one of the 4 myths you are currently stuck in. Are you stuck in the productivity line? Are you stuck in the royalty trap? Are you stuck in the permission weight? Or are you stuck in the paper shield? I read each and every single one. So let me see you in my next video.